If you want to be more efficient and effective while running your business with more inner peace, then working on the core of your issues instead of putting on a band-aid is vital. Welcome to the Business Brain Podcast. I'm your host, Esty Rapport, and here to help you improve your 28 cognitive functions, the 28 things that make up thinking. In each episode, we'll discuss a real-life challenge, why you might be struggling with it, and give you practical strategies so all areas of your life will improve. What is neurodivergent? Why don't I like that term? And what is a better way to approach it? That's what's coming up next on the Business Brain Podcast, episode 420. But first, if you want to make your life easier, if you want to reduce stress, you want to get more done in less time and have your business just flowing easily, you'll want to apply to your Brain Rewired, a 90-day cohort where high-achieving entrepreneurs come together to achieve peak brain performance, solve the core issue, and running their business actually is easier. Now, for today's real-life challenge, imagine you were the trouble kid in school, always in the principal's office, struggling to focus, disturbing the class, maybe struggling with reading and taking tests. But now you're running a successful business. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this episode, but it doesn't take away from the fact that I strongly believe it. Although I've never been diagnosed with a label that makes me neurodivergent, I grew up with multiple family members were or are, and many of my clients are today. You have the right to your own opinion. And more importantly, I do not want you to take what I say without thinking about it and see if it aligns with you and your values. Listen with an open mind and then decide what you like and what you don't. So I don't like the term neurodivergent or neurotypical. Neurodivergent is a term used to describe people whose neurological functioning and thinking skills is different than typical, in air quotes, people, such as people with autism, ADHD, dyslexia, and many more. Neurotypical is anyone whose brain thinks typically. And once again, I am putting in air quotes. I know one of the cognitive functions is labeling, but labeling is not for people. It's for things, ideas, concepts, and places. You do not want to be labeling people neurodivergent or any label for that matter. As soon as you give someone a label and tell them they have ADHD, you are putting them in a box with a cover that has a limit on it. Then they have to work their whole lives proving to themselves why there is no limit. And this label or this diagnosis can actually be helpful for them. And maybe it's even their superpower. If you're neurodivergent, I'm sure you're thinking getting my diagnosis was one of the best things that ever happened to me. Now I know why I do, what I do, why I say things, the way I say things, and I'm not ashamed or embarrassed about how I'm different from other people. It also helped me to learn to deal with them better. That, my friends, is the one good thing about getting a diagnosis, especially as an adult. So many times you've been put down for things that you shouldn't have been. People didn't believe in you. People didn't understand why you can't be like everyone else. And I am happy you got the diagnosis so you can understand yourself better. Honestly, if people ask me today whether they should get a diagnosis, I say that is the one good benefit. Here's the problem. As soon as you get the diagnosis or start learning from people in the field, you are going to start getting limitations put on you. In the beginning, it may not show up as a limitation, but rather as an acceptance. You'll never be able to focus. So here's some meds to help you with it. Or you've got to accept the fact that you've been struck by time blindness. You'll always be losing your favorite things or forgetting important information. So we're going to have to figure out some sort of hack, some sort of system so these things don't get in the way. Guess what, my friend? What they are sharing is where you are currently at, not where you have to stay forever. You've got to work with your brain and push it at the same time. You do not want to limit yourself to never being on time or never being able to join social events. Just because you have a diagnosis, it's not a be-all, end-all. No matter what your diagnosis is, your brain is capable of more. Personally, I like to think of it as skills, more specifically as thinking skills. And all skills can be learned. So if you're struggling with focusing, reading, social interactions, productivity, time management, energy management, or anything really, you can break it down into skills. And then your brain will be able to learn it. It may take you longer to learn it than someone else. You may need a different method to learn it than someone else, but it is possible. Do you hear me? Professor Irving Feuerstein, the one who identified the 28 thinking skills, wrote a book called If You Love Me, Don't Accept Me As I Am. I don't think this title will fly these days, but it's a great book filled with stories about people who have been limited by their diagnosis, and he proved them otherwise. You're capable of way more than you realize, whether you've been labeled or not. Today we spoke about why I don't like the term neurodivergent or any label, really. You are not your diagnosis, and it has no right to limit you. Your challenge this week is think of something you can do because of your diagnosis, or someone else who you love can do because of their diagnosis, and challenge your thinking. What would it be like if you broke it down into skills? Have an awesome rest of your week, and cheers to peak brain performance.
That's all for this episode of the Business Brain Podcast. If you enjoyed it, please share it with 2 of your business friends so they too can gain from it, and you'll be helping us reach our goal of 1 million downloads by the end of 2025. Cheers to peak brain performance.